Manx Radio Sport.
Welcome to Saturday Sport, classified on Manx Radio AM 1368. Results, reaction and analysis to the sporting action across the Isle of Man and further afield in Manx football, rugby and hockey. We'll be hearing from our team of correspondents over the next hour, plus taking a look into the worlds of motorsport and powerlifting as well later in the programme. But of course, we will start today's programme with your classified sporting results for Saturday, the 14th of February 2026 across Isle of Man football, rugby and hockey. And we're going to start with football. The ECAB FA Cup first round. Union Mills versus Colby postponed due to an unfit pitch. Castletown versus Corinthians postponed due to an unfit pitch. Laxey 1, Braddon 2. Morown 1, Russian United 4. Douglas High School Old Boys versus Onken postponed due to an unfit pitch. Ramsey Centre Old Boys versus St John's United postponed due to an unfit pitch. The Canada Life Men's Premier League. Ayr United versus Ramsey postponed due to an unfit pitch. Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2. Governors Athletic versus Douglas Royal postponed due to an unfit pitch. Maloo versus St George's postponed due to an unfit pitch. Canada Life Combination 1. Onken versus Union Mills postponed due to an unfit pitch. St John's United versus Corinthians postponed due to an unfit pitch. St Mary's 5, Russian United 2. Ramsey versus Ayr United postponed due to an unfit pitch. And Braddon versus Douglas High School Old Boys postponed due to an unfit pitch. Ardern and Drug Unlimited Combination 2. Douglas Royal versus Governors Athletic postponed due to an unfit pitch. Michael United versus Ramsey Centre and Old Boys postponed due to an unfit pitch. Douglas Athletic versus Gyms postponed due to an unfit pitch. St George's 2, Colby 5. Pulrose United versus Castletown postponed due to an unfit pitch. And in the North West Counties Football League Premier Division, Barnoldswick Town versus FC Isle of Man postponed due to travel disruption. Turning now to rugby. Counties 3 ADM Lancashire and Cheshire Minor Conference League. Ramsey 43, Duckenfield 19. The Hertford Homes Manx Cup. Douglas Celts 17, Vagabonds 13. Now to hockey. The England Hockey Women's Tier 2 Plate second round. Newcastle University Ladies Seconds 2, Isle of Man Ladies A 3. The England Hockey Men's Tier 3 Vars third round. Stockton Men's Seconds versus Isle of Man Men's B is a late pushback at 6:30pm. The Men's Premier League. Vikings A versus Harlequins A postponed due to player commitments in the England Hockey Championships. Backers A versus Vikings B postponed due to player commitments in the England Hockey Championships. Castletown A 3, Valkyries A 1. The Ladies Premier League. All three matches, Harlequins A versus Castletown A, Valkyries A versus Vikings A, Backers A versus Castletown B, all games postponed due to player commitments in the England Hockey Championships. Men's Division 1. Valkyries B 1, Ramsey A 1. Valkyries C 2, Backers B 7. Castletown B versus Harlequins B is a late pushback. The game has just got underway at 5pm. Ladies Division 1. Backers B 3, Backers C 1. Ramsey A 5, Castletown C 0. Vikings B 2, Valkyries B 7. Men's Division 2. Castletown C versus Backers C postponed due to an unfit pitch. Ramsey B 2, Harlequins C 3. Vikings C 2, Backers Colts 4. Ladies Division 2. Ramsey B 4, Valkyries C 0. Castletown D 2, Vikings C 0. And in the Mixed Under-15s League, Ramsey Rogues and Rascals 0, Castletown Sabres 16. Those are your classified sporting results across the Isle of Man for Saturday, the 14th of February 2026. Well, we're going to turn our attention to football first, and unfortunately, it has been largely the same case today as it was 7 days ago. Mother Nature has not been kind to the Isle of Man football schedule. Hopes this week, of course, to get the ECAP FA Cup first round proper fixtures underway after many of them, all but one in fact, were postponed last week. But unfortunately, only 2 of those rearranged games able to take place today, and just 2 fixtures across all of those in the senior men's leagues taking place today as well. So some football surviving, but not a great deal. But joining us as ever is our football correspondent Tony Mepham. And Tony, before we get into any of the fixtures, I suppose we have to talk about those that didn't take place, and it's probably going to be a bit of a headache for the Football Association to try and get these games in that are now really stacking up.
Well, it is, Rob, because obviously next week we've got the GH Call at Woods Cup as well to go back into. So that's why the Peel and Pulrose game won't go ahead next week. I've had a quick look at the fixtures this morning. Didn't know what I was going to lose, but I think we're going to be all right as in damage limitation. I hate postponing games and then that club sits out and doesn't have a fixture, but I think we'll be near enough covered. It's going to be difficult to give everyone a game, but we'll try our best. But it's just crazy, Rob. You know, when you look at the amount of rain that we're having, and then last night 4:00 when that snow came down, and it's a big problem now, because even when you look at it, the weather forecast next week, it's not good, but also the pitch is absolutely soaking. So we could do with really a week of high wind and a bit of warmth, but we're not going to get that in the second week of February. So fingers crossed it sorts itself out and we get a break somewhere.
Yeah, warm, sunny weather across the Isle of Man in February. That is very much wishful thinking, I think it's fair to say. But on a serious note, I'm sure everyone will hope that more football fixtures can go ahead in the coming weeks, particularly in light of the adverse weather conditions the Isle of Man has experienced over the last couple of weeks. Let's turn then to the games that have taken place today, Tony. Just a reminder, actually, before we get to those, for those who may be wondering this evening, we were originally due to have the draw for the second round of the ECAP FA Cup this evening. That will not now be taking place due to the disruption to fixtures today. 2 fixtures have gone ahead, but not enough to warrant the draw for the second round taking place. But let's turn our attention to the 2 games that did take place. One of those was an All Canada Life Men's Premier League clash today at Glen Road between Laxey and Braddon. Braddon at the moment sitting just above the relegation zone, but it must be said 8 points clear right now as well, so they've got themselves a nice cushion. But coming up against the Laxey side that have been strong at times throughout the league campaign so far, and it's actually the visitors Braddon that have perhaps upset the odds today, Tony, by winning against Laxey by 2-1.
That's an unbelievable result. And if you have a look at the WhatsApp group, Rob, you might have a report from Paul Turner, because he sent it to me, but obviously I can't read it out to you because I'm talking to you on the phone. But certainly, the game started so well for Braddon. Nick Harvey it was who gave Braddon the lead. And, you know, it was totally a shock because, you know, when you look where the 2 teams are in the league, you just thought to yourself, this is going to be Laxey's all the way. But Laxey did get an equaliser. Cameron Avery it was who pulled one back to make it 1-1. But Braddon were still playing some really good football. But the turning point, I think, was a back pass back to Laxey's goalkeeper. And I'm going to guess it's Aidan Pritchard, who's an excellent goalkeeper. He's improved so much. I think he's 18 years of age, a real star for the future. And unfortunately, as the ball came back, I think he's gone to collect it and it's bobbled. And whether it's rolled under his foot or what, I don't know. But it went over the line to make it 2-1 to Braddon. But as far as I know, there's still plenty of time on the clock for Laxey to get back into it, but it didn't happen. Well done to the shed men, as I call it, the ground staff down there, because from what Paul was telling me, the pitch didn't really cut up, which is fantastic news for Laxey. And unfortunately for Laxey, they go out of the ECAP FA Cup and Braddon go through, and that'll give them massive confidence on this huge running that they've got to stay in this Canada Life Premier League. But this is the Cup. And if they can have a cup run as well to keep it going, then fair play. Braddon 2, Laxey 1.
Indeed, Tony. And yes, I do have a report in. Paul, thank you very much for messaging into us over WhatsApp this afternoon. So I'll just go through Paul's report here from the man down at Glen Road this afternoon to put some meat on the bones to what Tony was saying before. So this is Paul's report from today's meeting between Laxey and Braddon. Of course, Braddon winning by 2-1 in the ECAP FA Cup first round. Here it is. Both teams started hard, but it only took Braddon 3 minutes to test the Laxey goalkeeper, who made an awesome save and tipping the ball over the bar. And Braddon started to get on top of the game. Laxey got a chance on on goal in the 9th minute, but sent it wide. And then on the 20th minute, Braddon got that goal they were looking for, with Nick Harvey putting it past Aidan Pickering and pushing the wind out of Laxey's sails. Then on the 26th minute, Laxey got that kick-start they needed with a corner, and Cam Avery climbing the highest to head the ball past Haddock, and both teams started pushing hard for their second goal, but it didn't happen, and both teams went in at half-time all square at 1-1. At the start of the second half, Braddon came out the stronger, and with 65 minutes being played, they got their second goal through a Laxey pass back and Pickering going to kick upfield, but unfortunately the ball hit a divot and went over his kicking foot to roll into the back of the net. Laxey then pushed for that equaliser, but no matter what they tried, they couldn't get past the Swans' defence, and when Laxey did, they couldn't get that ball past Haddock, so the game ended Laxey 1, Braddon 2, and Braddon march on into the quarter-finals of the FA Cup. Paul, thank you very much for that detailed match report for us. And the other game that took place today in the ECAP FA Cup first round between Division 2 Marown and Canada Life Men's Premier League outfit Russian United. This was due to originally be played at Marown, but due to the state of Marown's pitch going into the weekend, it was agreed that it would be switched to Croytlowie, the home of Russian United today. Well, Russian United, despite being the away team, playing on home soil, and they've made it count today, Tony. Russian United beating Division 2 Marown by 4-1.
Yeah, and it's a great start for Dids Ward as well. The new manager who stepped in this week, Andrew Moody's stood down from the number one position. And Dids is an experienced manager and really good guy, to be fair. And it's great to see one of the, if you like, home-blooded players who played there as a kid and then, played through the first team combination, and absolutely incredible, sort of debut game for him. Jamie Cadwallader was the star for Russian today. He got 2 of the goals. Aaron Hawley said to you recently, he scored, a hat-trick, 3 or 4 goals in one of the games. And he's been a bit quiet, but I think he's been away. But he got one today. And Matty Lamb got the other one. It was Carl Hartman who got the consolation goal for Marown. But it sort of gives you a pointer because Marown are pushing to see if they can get promoted at the end of the season back into the Canada Life Premier League. But Russian back on track, and they'll be pushing to see if they can get every single point to try and get another position above the team above them, and just see if they can put a challenge on in the FA Cup. They always do well. And then we've still got the Manx Quality Sheds Hospital Cup to bring into it as well. So great day for Russian. I'm sure the clubhouse is bouncing.
Okay, those are the 2 games that took place in the ECAP FA Cup first round today. Just a reminder of the games that were postponed in that competition today. Union Mills versus Colby, Castletown versus Corinthians, Douglas High School Old Boys versus Onken, Ramsey Youth Centre Old Boys versus St John's United, and also earlier this week, Confirmation Pulrose United versus Peel. That also postponed as well. Looking to the senior men's leagues that were taking place today, the only game in the Canada Life Men's Premier League today, Ayr United versus Ramsey, that was postponed due to the weather conditions affecting the pitch. Also, the 2 games that were due to take place in Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2 called off due to unfit pitches. They were Governors Athletic versus Douglas Royal and Maloo versus St George's. 4 out of the 5 games off in Canada Life Combination 1, but we'll take a look at the game that did take place, an earlier kick-off between St Mary's and Russian United. St Mary's, Tony, winning this by 5-2, and this might be a big dent to Russian United's hope in the Combination 1 title race.
Exactly, and I think really on this one, Rob, when I tell you the team in a minute for St Mary's, it reads like an FC Alaman team. Let's have a look at the goal scorers. Alex Harrison got 3 of them. 2 bullet headers, absolute belters. And then the third one, I think, was a massive volley by him. The other one was Carl Watts. I think it was an own goal. But here you go. Players for St Mary's today in the squad. Carl Clark, Alex Harrison, Jack McVeigh, Sammy Gelling. When you've got players like that coming into the combination side, you're pretty strong. But he didn't have it all their own way because Luke Roberts got one for Russian. Alex Crawley got the other one, and I heard an absolute superb performance by Russian's young players, because playing up against some of the best players that has been in Manx football and still are is an incredible sort of show. And I know, speaking to Barry Critchley, he's chuffed to bits with the young players, just the way they sort of acquitted themselves, had a go at the talented players. Okay, it was always tough. They were always on the sort of back foot, but they played some really top-notch football, and I've seen that myself evident over the last couple of years. But unfortunately, they lost today, 5-2.
Yeah, and just taking a look at the table as to what that means at the moment in Canada Life Combination 1. So a tough day for Russian United, as we've been hearing from Tony. A team, St Mary's combination team, packed with ability in Manx football as well. So what that means is this is how Canada Life Combination 1 stands at the moment. Corinthians remain top on 35 points after 16 games. Russian United remain 3 points behind on 32 points, but now after 17 games. And just a point further back on Russian United in third are Ramsey at the moment. But Ramsey have 2 games in hand on Corinthians and now 3 on Russian United as well. So still all to play for at the top of Canada Life Combination 1. Just a reminder then of the postponed games in Canada Life Combination 1 today. They were Onken versus Union Mills, St John's United versus Corinthians, Ramsey versus Ayr United, and Braddon versus Douglas High School Old Boys. Finally, we'll turn to Ardern and Drug Unlimited Combination 2. A similar situation there to Combination 1. 4 of the 5 games were called off today due to the conditions. Taking a look at the one game that did take place, that was over at Glencrutchery Road between St George's and Colby. And the Southern visitors coming out on top by 5-2 today, Tony.
Yeah, I haven't got St George's goal scorers, so if someone could text us through 166 177, it'd be handy. But for Colby, it was 5 different goal scorers. Eden Ludgate got 1, Dave Thomas, James Galloway, Ollie Edge, well done Ollie, and Sam Wolland as well, 2 lads I work with, getting goals apiece there. So cracking result that for Colby. St George's, you'd probably expect that one for Colby, but they're still chipping away. And as I've said to you before, over the last couple of weeks, St George's certainly are pulling it together. They've got some really good young players, and you can see the results improving. But today, against a good and more physical Colby side, they lost out 5-2.
So those were the results today. Again, a reminder for those who may be just tuning in as well. Following the disruption to today's games, there will not be a draw today, as was previously planned for the second round of the ECAP FA Cup. Unfortunately, just with the disruption of the last couple of weeks, there are still not enough fixtures being played to warrant a draw. Tony, before we let you go for the evening, and I suppose a much quicker segment for you this time around, given the lesser amount of games that we've had today. Coming back to that point, which I'm sure is a frustration for the Isle of Man Football Association at the moment. We talked about it on Friday Sport Preview last night. It really is stacking up the amount of games that are being lost on the Isle of Man due to the weather, which is beyond anyone's control. But how much more difficult is that task becoming within the FA at the moment to try and fit these in when you don't necessarily know when you're going to get some respite from the weather?
And that's exactly, Rob. We don't know when we're going to get any respite. And, 1 or 2 people were getting a little bit hot under the collar today. That I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have got Castletown to move to Corinthians, and other things like Union Mills, make a play at Colby. Colby always said to me, our pitches are fit, Tony, so just forget it. They've been absolute gem to work with. But there's 1 or 2 clubs in this cup competition have been really hard work this week to try and get fixtures on, because all I'm trying to do is get them on. And when you look at it, Rob, tomorrow we've got the bowl there from 2 till 5 basically sitting empty. I tried to fill it with senior fixtures, just no one wanted to take it. The Junior League, I'm delighted. Thank you, Nick Cowell, for stepping in, because the Isle of Man FA had already paid for it. But it just shows you, when people say, why don't we play games at the bowl? They don't want to play. They want to play to suit themselves. And unfortunately, Saturdays are always going to be difficult, because you've got St Mary's first team in combi who could be on there. And then you've got FC Isle of Man who could be on. But there was a great opportunity tomorrow to possibly play 2 games, and the clubs didn't want to. So there's your answer.
Okay, Tony, thank you very much indeed. And just finally, before we move on, Tony mentioned FC Isle of Man there. Their game at Barnoldswick Town in the NWCFL Premier Division, that was postponed today due to travel disruption affecting the FC Isle of Man team. The decision was taken earlier today due to travel disruption for the team this morning, possible further travel issues this evening, and also the consideration of player welfare. A rearranged date for FC Isle of Man's fixture against Barnoldswick Town will be announced in due course, and FC Isle of Man is thanking both Barnoldswick Town and the NWCFL for their understanding in postponing the fixture. And as a result, FC Isle of Man's next match as it stands is now due to be on Saturday, the 21st of February, up against Wythenshawe at the Bowl in Douglas, with kick-off scheduled for 6 p.m.
Manx Radio Sports, brought to you by the Pritchard. Visit theprintshed.iom.com today to set up your personalised web shop for your sports club or business.
Well, yes, Mother Nature has certainly been making herself known this weekend when it comes to the sporting fixtures across the Isle of Man, but that hasn't had too much of an effect on today's rugby doubleheader. In fact, no effect, because of the fact both games have been able to take place today. Ramsey back in Counties 3 ADM Lancashire and Cheshire action, this time in what is being dubbed Phase 2 of the league season. So, in effect, for some context, what this means is that Counties 3 ADM Lancashire and Cheshire has now split for the second half of the season. The top 7 teams at the halfway point will now compete in what is known as the Major Conference League, and the bottom 7 teams will compete in the Minor Conference League. Both Ramsey and Vagabonds are in the Minor Conference League for the second part of the season. Vagabonds not in league action today, as we'll explain in just a moment. They've been involved in local cup competition, but Ramsey back in league action today up against Duckenfield, and also the Hertford Homes Manx Cup separately taking place between two bitter rivals at Portashee this afternoon. To go through everything, as always, is our rugby correspondent Dave Christian. Dave, we'll turn to what happened up in the north of the island first, because a fantastic result to Ramsey to start the Minor Conference League campaign in Counties 3 ADM Lancashire and Cheshire with a 43-19 victory up against Duckenfield.
Yeah, it was, and we weren't totally unscathed, Rob, with the weather. Duckenfield's flight was delayed for about 2.5 hours, and you kind of feel sorry for them a little bit, because they've been kicking their heels in an airport for several hours. However, the extent of the sorriness is probably reduced a little bit, because the same thing has to happen with the Isle of Man clubs who are travelling, and airport delays are horrible things to experience. But Duckenfield, fair play to them. It was an excellent first half at the Murrick. Everybody was running. It was 1,000,000 miles an hour. I think I described it in Saturday Live earlier on, and I've just finished doing a bit of a write-up for websites and things, and I called the first half breathless, because both sides really went at it hammer and tongs. Ramsey raced into an early lead, 21-0 they went ahead. Tries from Jake Richmond, Braden Roach and Dan Kelly, with Kelly adding 3 conversions as well. But Duckenfield finished at the top end of the bottom 7, if that makes any sense, and they're not here to make up the numbers, and they struck back with tries from Captain Dave Whittam, and there was another try from Ben Pugh, at Johnny Sculthorpe conversion, and that kind of got them back into the game at 21-12. They were almost within a score. Ben Hardman, though, pulled one back for Ramsey just before half-time to leave them 26-12 in front. First thing in the second half, Ramsey did the only thing that they could do to improve their lot. They scored. Kieran Neal went over, and that gave them a further advantage. They were 31-12 then. Duckenfield, 19 points behind, was starting to have to chase the game. They regrouped, and they reduced that Ramsey advantage when Ben Pugh went over for his second and Sculthorpe converted. But Ramsey didn't let the wheels fall off the wagon. They kept it together. They were strong in defence and picked up 2 late tries, one from Brandon Atchison and one from replacement Ross Quayle, with a Dan Kelly conversion. So a great start for Ramsey. Technically, they're top of the table, because the other 2 games in the minor conference were both postponed this afternoon because of the weather. However, that's a misleading picture. It'd be very easy to cry top of the table, but because the points from the first part of this league are going to carry forward into the second part. Now, the first part of the league matches hasn't yet been completed. I think there's 3 or 4 games still to play. When that happens, the points will move over, and of course Ramsey had a disappointing start to the season and only won 1 game in their first half, so they won't be top of the table for very long, but they're currently top of the table, and I think the guys will enjoy that in the clubhouse tonight, and I'll be joining them in not too distant future as well. So all things good. 43-19 bonus point. They can't argue with that. It's a perfect way to start off the conference part of the league, and I think some of the players are already boasting that they're unbeaten in 2026, but they've only played 2 games, so that's not get carried away. Ramsey play Douglas Celts next week at the Murrick Park in the Hertford Homes Manx Cup, which is where we'll go next. The old firm clash, Douglas and Vagabonds, or Douglas Celts, in fact, to be more accurate. They met at Portashee this afternoon. 17-13 win there for Douglas, which is kind of low scoring. There's no bonus point for Douglas. They didn't score 4 tries, but Vagabonds pick up a losing bonus point. But you have to be worried for them now that their Manx Cup campaign could be over before it's really started, because they also lost against Southern Nomads last week. And that defeat against Douglas means it's going to be very, very difficult for them. They're going to have to win against Ramsey in 2 weeks' time and hope that somebody else upsets the apple cart for them if they're going to sneak through. So very difficult for Vagabonds. For Douglas this afternoon, tries came from Jonty Shimon, Charlie Henthorne and Craig McGee, with Craig Martin adding a conversion. And for Vagabonds, it was a one-man show, at least on the scoreboard. Cam Finlay scored all their points. He had a try, a conversion and 2 penalties, although I am assured that the try that he scored came after 11 forwards picking up the ball and driving, and the minute it got passed outside, Finlay went over to score. So it is a team game. There is unfortunately somebody who will take the glory at the end, but fair play to Cam Finlay. You only get the scores if you put away your chances, and he did that this afternoon. But I guess disappointing overall for Vagabonds. But Douglas Celts will be happy if they can pull a result off against Ramsey. They've got 1 foot in the final, and it's not that they haven't been there before, because they actually won the Manx Cup, and I'm going to say probably about 2006, 2007, the last time Douglas Celts were in it. There and thereabouts. I'll have to look through my archives to find out exactly when it was. But previous Manx Cup winners, and they've got certainly had a good shot at it this season. They have 1 fixture to go. No, there's 2 fixtures to go. They've got Ramsey next week, and then they will play Southern Nomads, and I think the back end of April is when those games will take place.
Just quickly, Dave, to go back to Ramsey and that result today. I know you've already said that there's been a pretty buoyant mood after that result today, but speaking to you a few weeks back on Ramsey when results were difficult, particularly at the start of the season, I remember that 100-plus point hammering they were on the end of against the then league leaders, Bury. But to come away with results like that to start your minor Conference League campaign going into the weeks ahead, even when results were tough, you were saying that the, I suppose, spirits were high in the Ramsey camp. Is that maybe, I suppose, repaying some of their faith and their optimism a little bit, a result and a performance like that?
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. And I'm just flicking onto the RFU results page now to get those early season results. They're not too bad. Yes, there was a big score against Bury, the 116 points. But you put that into context, that was the weekend that Eddie Lord, former captain and current player, got married. Fair play to Eddie and his lovely wife. They chose to get married during the rugby season, and unfortunately we didn't have the personnel really available for travelling. And aside from that, I think there was a big result away at Fleetwood. They lost 52-0. But aside from that, the games have always been competitive, and some of those sides in the top half, I mean, Oldham away on the 17th of January, 27-19, there was really nothing in that, and the players came back feeling they could have and maybe should have done a lot better than 27-19. But yeah, the games have always been close. There's been plenty of points scored, and the performances haven't been bad, and that's the key. The players are coming off the field thinking that they've had a good game, even though the scoreline hasn't quite gone with them. So I don't think there was any fear at all in the side that they're going to continue losing. They knew sooner or later that losing streak would come to an end. It did against Hoylake a couple of weeks ago. I think it was 41-28, that win there. So the players knew they had a win in them, and they've done it again today. We'll see if they can do it again in 2 weeks' time when they play Vagabonds. It's a league and cup double, that game, so it'll count for the Manx Cup. It will also count in the Counties 3 conference, so that'll be the test for them. The earlier result against Vagabonds was at the Muirk Park, and that was the infamous 0-0 draw at the back end of November when the weather conditions were absolutely horrendous. We'll hope for something better in 2 weeks' time.
And just finally, going back to the Hartford Homes Manx Cup, narrow victory for Douglas Celts over Vagabonds. So I know you've mentioned with Vagabonds particularly, maybe doing more damage to them in terms of their chances in the Manx Cup than it is Douglas Celts, who've been strong in the local competition so far. So just to give some people some context, I guess, what does this mean for both teams in terms of the Manx Cup standings?
Well, Vagabonds have now played 2, lost 2, so they're the side with the disadvantage. Douglas Celts have only played 1. Ramsey and Ramsey haven't played at all. Southern Nomads have played 1-1-1. So Nomads currently in the driving seat. We'll see how that fares with Douglas Celts against Ramsey next week. And if Ramsey take the honours, then it's going to be tight at the top. You're going to have 3 sides with 1 win there. But it's the top 2 that will play off for the Cup after they've finished their round robin of fixtures. So as long as you're in the top 2, it doesn't really matter. I think the final is... I think it's the 3rd of May, off the top of my head. So we've got a long way to go yet. And of course, the games with Ramsey and Vagabonds having league commitments, the fixtures are being slotted in whenever you can find a space. I think Southern Nomads actually asked to change a date, and it couldn't be done because there's just no space in the calendar. It gets a little bit crowded towards the pointy end of the season.
Dave, thank you very much indeed.
Manx Radio Sports, brought to you by the Pritchard. Visit theprintshediom.com today to set up your personalised web shop for your sports club or business.
Turning to hockey in a busy schedule today, both on island and off island today, because we've had 2 Isle of Man senior national teams involved in England Hockey Championship action today. One of those games has finished, another coming up this evening, getting underway in just under an hour's time. That has meant it has affected Premier League matches across the men's and ladies divisions today in Manx hockey, but still plenty going on elsewhere across the respective leagues to go through what's been happening so far today. And I suppose a little bit in terms of what's to come, to be honest, is our hockey correspondent Ben Cunningham. And Ben, a very busy day, but some interesting results once again, both on island and further afield.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fortunately, we've not lost we haven't lost as many fixtures as what football have. We've only just lost the 1 game today, and that was the men's Division 2 game at 11 o'clock at the NSC. So that'll be rearranged. But yeah, elsewhere though, there's been some very close results, and the first game of the 2 that are happening today for our island teams, it's gone the Isle of Man's way.
Indeed, we'll come to those details in just a moment, but just a reminder of the games that didn't take place across Isle of Man hockey today. As Ben has just mentioned, only 1 succumbed to the weather earlier today, and that was the early pushback at the National Sports Centre in Douglas in Men's Division 2 between Castletown C and Bacchus C. That game was postponed and will be rearranged in due course. Elsewhere, not related to the weather, but related to the fact that we have 2 national sides involved in England Hockey Championship action today. 5 of the 6 games across the Men's Premier League and Ladies Premier League have not taken place today. 2 games off in the Men's Premier League. They were Vikings A and Harlequins A, and Bacchus A versus Vikings B. And then all 3 games off in the Ladies Premier League, which would have been Harlequins A versus Castletown A, Valkyries A versus Vikings A, and Bacchus A versus Castletown B. All of those games to be rearranged in due course. So let's turn our attention to what did go ahead today, and we'll start with those 2 national teams in action today. Early pushback and a bit of a journey for the Isle of Man Ladies A team this weekend, all the way up to the north-east of England to face Newcastle University Ladies' second team in the EH Women's Tier 2 Plate second round. Sounds like this has been a very entertaining game, Ben, but as you mentioned just a moment ago, the Isle of Man Ladies A doing enough to come out on top and win this game by 3-2. Great result.
Absolutely great result, and we were talking off air, one of the goal scorers is a name that we talked about last night, and then another name that we mentioned when we were talking off air is one that we've been noticing coming through the ranks, and she is actually in the Rising Star Junior program, which is going on at the minute, and that is Evie Watterson. She's coming on leaps and bounds, and today getting on the score sheet for the Ladies A. Eleanor Cleater as well, and a player I mentioned last night on Friday Sport, in good form and scoring plenty of goals, and she's done it today, Leah Mellor.
And they will have been one of those teams, I suppose, that will have been affected in some way by the travel disruption that has happened here on Ireland and, particularly on and off Ireland, I think it's fair to say. And a long journey for that Isle of Man ladies A team. So to get over all those outside factors as well and go out there and get the job done, that says a lot about the character of the team. Absolutely.
And I mean, this morning my phone was going ballistic basically because we had the issues on Ireland, and then also we had the Ireland team sat waiting to find out would the pitch defrost in time for them to play. Fortunately, it did. It all went ahead as planned, and a great result for the Ireland ladies team. And now we sit and wait till 6:30, and we see if the men's B can match the ladies A as well.
Indeed, so that game that is taking place in getting underway in just under an hour's time, just under an hour's time, I should say, over in Teesside. That's in the EH Men's Tier 3 Vars third round. Stockton Men's Seconds will be hosting the Isle of Man Men's B squad at Stockton Hockey Club. So push back at 6:30pm. Just a reminder of the Isle of Man Men's B squad to take part in that game this evening. It is Sam Spooner, John Verrill, Eddie Cayley, Archie Cayley, Andy Harding, Neil Crow, Nathan Evans, Liam Taverner, Alfie Swales, Ronan Santana-Tolia, Kieran Gell, Shay Christensen, Dougie Quayle and Stevie Ronan. Very best of luck to them away at Stockton Men's Seconds this evening.
Absolutely.
Let's turn our attention then to the local leagues taking place today. As mentioned before, 5 of the 6 games across the Men's and Ladies Premier Leagues not taking place today because of these EH Championship games. The one game that has taken place today across those 2 top flight divisions is in the Men's Premier League between Castletown A and Valkyries A, Ben, 2 teams who were looking to really just try and, I suppose, kick on a little bit with 3 teams above them, Backers A, Vikings A and Harlequins A, just pulling away at the moment toward the top of the table. Valkyries starting the weekend in 4th, Castletown in 5th, the 2 only separated by goal difference, and it's a big win for Castletown A, who actually move above Valkyries A into 4th with a 3-1 victory over the Westerners.
Yeah, big result this for Castletown A over Valkyries A. Pundit curse basically. I did say I think it would have gone Valkyries' way, but Castletown, as always, and as we say every year, they can always spark a surprise, and they've done it again today. George Powell with 2 and Casper Grounds with 1. Unfortunately, we don't have the Valkyries A goal scorer, so 166 177 or one text and WhatsApp if we can get the scorer.
Yes, please. If you do have those details, please do let us know. WhatsApp or email, as Ben said, or text, I should say, as well. 166 177. So that's the only game that took place across the respective Premier Leagues today. Turning our attention to Men's Division 1 and 12:35 pushback today. QE2 saw Valkyries B starting the weekend second in the table and 2 points behind leaders Backers B up against a Ramsey A side that were only trailing Valkyries in second by virtue of goal difference. No ground made up by Ramsey A, but no further ground made by Valkyries B either. It's finished all square, 1-1.
Yeah, I had a feeling this one was going to be a close game, and it has lived up to what I thought. Russ Miller on the score sheet for Valkyries B, and then for Ramsey A, it was Ed Fields, but a big advantage for Backers B, who we're going to come to now.
Yes, because Backers B were 4 wins from 4 going into this weekend, and not only that, they'd scored 21 goals and are yet to even concede in the league going into this weekend. A fantastic start. Well, over at King William's College today, Backers B were looking to maintain or extend their lead at the top up against the Valkyries C side with 2 wins and 2 losses from their first 4 games going into this weekend. Backers B making a bit of a statement here. They've won by 7 goals to 2, and that means, Ben, that they move, let's just make some quick maths here, 3 points clear at the top of Men's Division 1 at this stage.
Yeah, great result for Backers B. Okay, they've lost their no goals conceded today, but 7 goals, increasing their goal advantage as well, because we look back to what the mixed season went to. Some of the leagues did go down to goal difference, so goals are all crucial in all the leagues. Craig Lees with 2, Alex Stewart with 2, Jack Grimley with 1, Ab Maddox with 1 and Will Wiseman with 1. We haven't got the Valkyries C goal scorers. However, the Valkyries C captain is currently typing to me as we speak. So if we come back in a bit, we might have the Valkyries goal scorers.
Indeed. So the other game taking place in Men's Division 1 today was actually the late pushback. That game is ongoing at the moment between Castletown B and Harlequins B at King William's College. Ben, do we have any updates?
We do, and it currently is 2-0 to Harlequins B. David Smith with both goals for Harlequins B. So at the minute, it's going the way of Harlequins B, but we'll keep a close eye on it. Jules, as always, thank you very much for keeping me posted.
Yes, thank you very much for keeping us updated. So this is a later score. Castletown B 0, Harlequins B 2 in that late pushback that got underway just after 5 o'clock at King William's College. Ladies Division 1 then, 3 games taking place there today. We'll turn to the Interclub Derby first that took place between Backers B and Backers C today. So Backers B sitting 4th in the table going into today, and Backers Ladies C 4 defeats from their opening 4 to start the season, so looking to get points on the board. Not to be today, though, against the higher team inside that club. Backers B beating Backers C by 3-1.
Yeah, it sounds a really close derby game here, but the B team coming away, as you would have thought, with the win over the C team. The goal scorer for the C was Grace Taylor, and the goal scorers for Backers B were Amara Corkill, Ella Edwards and Sharon Pope.
Elsewhere, over at Castle Rushen High School, Ramsey A, who started the day second in Ladies Division 1, one of 3 teams starting the weekend on 4 points, along with Vikings B and Backers B. They were hosting Castletown C today. Castletown C, 1 win, 1 draw and 1 defeat from their opening 3. Ramsey A, it's been a clinical performance today and a clean sheet as well. Ramsey A winning by 5-0 to keep the pressure on Valkyries B at the top.
Absolutely, keeping the pressure on Valkyries at the top, who we'll come to next. Vic Garner with 2 goals, Sarah Bull with 2, and Lucy Ballard with 1, giving the Northerners a great win over the Southerners, and like we say, keeping that pressure on the Valkyries B.
And that all meant that Valkyries B were in need of a win today, given the results, given the victories, I should say, for Backers B and Ramsey A today to keep up their place at the top of the table. Valkyries B have done that. They've beaten Vikings B by 7-2 today.
And just before we come to that, I just have got the Valkyries men's C goal scorers, and they were Johnny Kane and Dewan Belando. But going back to Ladies Division 1, and yeah, a fantastic performance here for Valkyries B. Steph Cottier with 2, Ria Marr with 2, Caitlin Shimon with 2, and Millie Poppett with 1. And then for Vikings B, it was Emma Hayes and the captain Georgie Higgins on the score sheet as well, and she was actually voted by her team as Player of the Day.
Excellent. Moving over to Men's Division 2 then, and just a reminder, of course, the early pushback here at 11:05 at the NSC, that was postponed between Castletown C and Backers C due to a frozen pitch. But elsewhere, over at Ramsey Grammar School today, Ramsey B 2, Harlequin C 3.
Yeah, really close game this was. Half-time 2-1. I played in this game. It was really good end-to-end stuff. Credit to Ramsey, they had just a team together to play this game, so great stuff from them. Peter Richardson with 2 goals for Ramsey B, and then for Harlequin C it was Sam Neto, and then some fella called Ben Cunningham got 2 goals as well, but we won't dwell on that because I have a half-time score from King William's College in that men's Division 1 game, and it is Harlequins B 2, Castletown B 0. David Smith with both goals as well in that game. So half-time, it is 2-0 to Harlequins B.
Thank you, Ben. So, and the final game in Men's Division 2, Vikings C2, Backers Colts 4.
Yeah, big win here for Backers Colts. Cal Joyce with 2, Kieran Brennan with 1, and Ryan Cartwright with 1 for Backers Colts. And then for Vikings C, it was Braden Masson and Patrick Williams.
And Ladies Division 2, just the 2 games, of course, a 4-team league this season. Both of them were early pushbacks. One of those at QE2 and Peel finished Ramsey B 4, Valkyries C 0.
And all 4 goals for Ramsey coming from Isle Russell, apparently all on the post.
Excellent. And last but certainly not least, Castletown D 2, Vikings C 0.
Henny Cubburn and Anne-Marie Crompton on the score sheet for Castletown D.
And just a quick mention for the mixed under-15s league. So it finished Ramsey Rogues and Rascals 0, Castletown Sabres 16. But I must actually say here, we have had a message through as well, that Ramsey only had 8 players today. And the message here says they didn't want to concede the game, kept their heads up throughout the game. Player of the match for Ramsey was Ethan Burgess in midfield, worked hard covering 3 positions. A tough result, but with 8 players and sticking out in that game, that shows some tough character.
Absolutely, and it's great to see that Ramsey played the game, because if they conceded the game, it would have just been a 5-0 walkover. Okay, Castletown have got 16 goals past them, but the credit of the day really does need to go to Ramsey for playing that game. Barnaby Vivian with 4, Oscar Groskarski with 3, George Hampton with 2, Ollie Sidebottom with 2, and Scarlett Crompton Harvey with 1 for Castletown Sabres.
Excellent. And the other result was Backers 4, Valkyries 3 in the mixed under-15s league. Ben, thank you very much indeed.
Manx Radio Sports, brought to you by the Pritchard. Visit theprintshed.iom.com today to set up your personalised web shop for your sports club or business.
Turning our attention to motorsport, and the latest generation of a name synonymous with the Isle of Man TT races is set to make his debut on the Snaefell Mountain course later this year. Illiam Quayle, son of former TT winner Richard Milky Quayle, is due to make his first appearance at the Manx Grand Prix in August. And what's more, he'll get the chance to learn from a master, with Quayle due to take on the event for Team ILR, which is run by 12-time TT champion Ian Locker. Well, Illiam's been speaking to Beth Espy on the Start Line podcast about the season to come and what it meant to him when he first found out he'd be following in his father's footsteps on the hallowed mountain course.
I had a lot of sleepless nights thinking about it, worrying about it. Oh, will I get in? Will I not get in? And then now that I've got in, it's almost gone the other way where I've still got sleepless nights because I'm worrying about, well, not worrying about it, but thinking everything through in my head, making sure I know where I'm going. And I just don't think there's anything else in the world that takes over your life like this place does.
And we should say at this point, you have a fairly well-known father in this world, and somebody who probably will be able to point you in the right direction. You are Milky Quayle's son, and when we last spoke to you on a podcast, I think you were thinking about doing the MGP last year, weren't you? But what was the reason behind the year's delay?
Yeah, so the whole idea was to go to TT. That was where I wanted to get to. Obviously, last year happened. I struggled more than I thought. I'm not gonna deny that. I didn't think I'm gonna run at the front because it's a national level championship. There's not many people that can do that. So struggled last year with that. I think maybe lacking a bit of confidence. My confidence kept getting knocked and just struggled to get a bit of momentum behind me. So at the end of the year, I split with Manx Legend Racing, who obviously I can't thank them enough for what they've done for me over the last 2 seasons. But ultimately, we went off separate directions. So then that made me think, then, well, hang on. If lacking a bit of confidence going to the TT on a big, powerful superbike, which is what I would have been riding for them, maybe it's better to go. Obviously, you got all the glitz and the glamour of the TT, a lot of pressure to even, I mean, you've got to do 120 on a big bike to even qualify. Like most people know, that's not hanging around. So then I was like, I tell you what, why don't we just take a step back, go back to enjoying racing, go to Manx Grand Prix, under the radar, ride round, enjoy the best piece of tarmac in the world, and yeah, go from there.
Under the radar, Illy, really?
Well, yeah. I like to think so.
I just wonder, though, obviously, having Richard Milky Quayle as your dad, he's got such a key role in the TT and the MGP. What pressure does that put on you, do you think? Can you ever escape the fact that you are Milky's son?
No, ultimately, it's always going to be with me. It's always going to follow me with no matter what I do in motorbike racing. But again, it's not like it's happened overnight. I've had 12 years of it. So I think maybe it's something that I've learned to deal with compared to somebody, say, that's been super fast and gone to the TT or the Manx Grand Prix or whatever, and I was like, oh, he's going to be the next, Peter Hickman, Davey Todd or whatever. I feel like the pressure I've always had the pressure, so it's nothing new to me. It doesn't matter whether it's Braille, Brands Hatch or whatnot. So I can just go into my normal mindset and then just enjoy it.
And what is it like when he gives you advice? I suppose, first of all, does he give you advice, or do you kind of try and keep that relationship a little bit distant? Because that's it's an interesting dynamic, isn't it? Again, because he's so involved in it.
Yeah, it's one of the things, like, even now, when we were in start of February and we've still not actually been for a lap together, because all throughout when I was younger racing stuff, it was like he didn't want to poke the fire. He was waiting for me to come to him. Like, don't get me wrong, every now and then, if we're going to Peel or whatnot, we'll do Grandstand to Ballacrane, but we've never gone, right, let's get in, we're doing a lap, this is how you do it. But other, like, advice on short circuit, yeah, good. He's been amazing with setup advice, riding advice and bits like that.
And there's some great news in terms of your partnership and the team that you're going to be working with. Tell us about that.
The man needs no introduction, does he really? I mean, he is a legend. It's an amazing opportunity to be working with Ian Locker and his team. Every now and then I'm still pinching myself that it's happening. Like, everyone talks about like 250 Grand Prix bikes, but obviously I was a bit older than that. But for me, that's what the patterns are like. I've always said that whenever I get out on the TT course, that I will love to have a rip on one of them. So to be able to have that on a Honda CBR 600 at my fingertips, it is amazing. It is unbelievable.
So how did this all come about then?
Dad's known Ian for ages. And then a couple of years ago now, probably I would have been, 18? I went over to the Northwest to help Jamie Williams. And I went up to Locker and I said, I want to ride one of your bikes. And he was like, all right, okay, yeah, all right. And then nothing happened then. And then it got to the end of last year. And then obviously me and Manx Legend Racing split. And then I just said to him, I said, look, I've got nothing sorted for this year. Is there a possibility that we can sort something out? And it's literally just snowballed from there, really.
And what does it mean to you, not only in terms of having that support behind you, that team support, but as you say, I mean, he is such a legend. If somebody knows what they're doing around the mountain course, it really is him. What does that mean to you to have that?
It honestly means the world, because obviously it was always going to be a struggle with Dad as well. Obviously, he can't be taking a set of wheels out, putting a set of wheels in, and then 5 minutes before I'm out, and then he's got to go and close the road up get parked for an short. So the plan was always to go and find a ride for somewhere else rather than trying to do it off our own backs, because it just would be impossible. I mean, to have Ian it is amazing. The little nuggets of advice that he can give on not only riding, but everything else around actually on riding. It's just, he's unbelievable.
Well, elsewhere, powerlifting Isle of Man is hoping its move to a new designated centre will drive more people to the sport. The organisation used to be based at Revolution Gym in Castletown, but will soon be setting up in the former L'Experience building on Summerhill in Douglas. It'll be called the Powerlifting Isle of Man Performance and Development Centre, with hopes to open early next month. Deputy Director of Operations Liz Young has been speaking to Darren Timpson.
We really feel like now is the time to expand. We want to reach new people. We want to really grow our base, the membership, and we feel that having a more central location that's dedicated just to powerlifting is the way forward.
And what challenges have you faced, I guess, from being in Castletown and now you're hoping will rectify moving into Douglas?
Some people just found that the trek out to Castletown has been a little bit challenging for them. Obviously, everyone lives so super busy lives now, and just to take that extra time to travel down has been a bit of a barrier. We've been out in schools trying to develop our youth powerlifting programme, and we find that some kids have said to us that just trying to get to Castletown, obviously they don't drive, has been a barrier for them. So we're really hoping that having a central location is really going to help with that.
And what is the interest from kids when it comes to powerlifting? Do they?
It's been mixed, but the schools are really, really supportive. So a lot of the schools now have quite well equipped gyms. We found that the staff in the schools are very supportive. The focus for kids now has been more about being strong and looking after their health. And if they have other sports that they take part in, that building strength can really support that.
And for people who don't necessarily know too much about powerlifting, what kind of equipment do you need? How will you be looking to, I suppose, renovate the space that was, I think, a former restaurant? Yeah,
it was, yeah. So if you're carrying out powerlifting, the specialised equipment that you need, it's not excessive, but it can be expensive if you're trying to kit out a whole new space. So you would need a platform, so that's made from wood. Platform where the lifts are carried out. You need specialist barbells and calibrated plates. So, plates that you have in the gym, but these are ones that are calibrated to be very specific weights. We also need a competition rack. So that is where the barbell rests when you're squatting or when you're benching.
And I mean, like you mentioned, it must be a little bit expensive to try and renovate a place for powerlifting.
Yeah, so what we're hoping to do is we are hoping to get sponsorship of the building, possibly. We're hoping that maybe some businesses out there, maybe listening to this, would be kind enough to sponsor a training room, a platform, a piece of equipment. So we have had a little bit of interest from some people.
And finally tonight, an Ireland cycling organisation says there's currently a real risk it won't be able to run any senior mountain bike, cross-country or gravel cycling events on the Isle of Man in 2026. Manx Viking Wheelers Club is issuing an urgent appeal for volunteers to help run events this year, as well as get people's views on the future of the sport at a crucial meeting next week. Niall Quiggin is the Manx Viking Wheelers Cycling Club treasurer and also one of its directors.
So in the past few years, cross-country, mountain bike and gravel events have been administered by the Manx Mountain Bike and Gravel Association. last year they merged with Manx Viking Wheelers, and yeah, the plan was that they would continue to run the events and Manx Viking Wheelers would do the admin in the background. Essentially this year, those plans haven't really panned out as we foresaw, and yeah, it's looking like without further volunteer help, the cross-country events and the gravel events won't be administered by the club this year as things stand. So yeah, we're just putting a shout out really for more volunteer help, and anyone really who has any skin in the game when it comes to cross-country or gravel, or even has a vague interest on how it's run, to come to our next committee meeting and offer their input.
Just off what you said there about volunteers and what you say there, that that is one of the core things that maybe needs to be sorted going forward. I mean, just how big an operation is it from a volunteer standpoint to run these events?
Yeah, it's significant. I mean, whether it's the person leading the event on a day, or for in gravel on a cross-country case, the marking out of the course is very important, and clearing down the course, marshals, people to run the sign on, timing, the list is extensive, but the main thing we need currently for these events is just a lead on the race. So that's someone to really just take it by the scruff of the neck and be the man/woman on the day to administer the event on behalf of the club. So yeah, I mean, even if someone thinks they're not the person to do that, yeah, we encourage everyone to come forward and yeah, give their input on how we can solve this problem really.
In a worst case scenario, if indeed this risk becomes a reality that we don't have mountain bike gravel cross country events in 2026, how damaging could that be for cycling on the island this year?
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the last time there wasn't a event of that nature on the Isle of Man, and it's important that we have a cross-country scene in particular, because every couple of years we expect to send athletes to the Island Games to win medals. So without that event being run on Ireland, it becomes difficult to see how we can send those teams going forward. It's important still to stress that there will still be, there's a good youth mountain bike scene, and then there's downhill, and then there's also the Manx Grand Fondo this year, which is a gravel race. But the competitive element of the sport for senior athletes is seriously at risk, and as things stand, there won't be an event in 2026 without more help.
And again, just going off of it, what you said there could be longer term repercussions if indeed it isn't resolved as well. So, could it have an impact on the likes of Ireland preparations for things like the Island Games and other events, like you say, that are going ahead?
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, riders return to Island Games, they cut their teeth in local racing. They prepare in local races to go to national level events in the UK. And it's also important just to have for people to have an alternative to riding on the road. I know a lot of people just prefer racing their cross-country bikes. And, in the past, we've had massive fields in those races. So it'll be a massive shame to not have them going forward. And, I don't know what a future Island Games cross-country team looks like without a scene on the Isle of Man, basically.
Going off what you said about identifying that, more volunteers are needed to help run things, particularly behind the scenes, what options are there now for the club and all of those involved to try and turn this all around?
Yeah, so the hope is that people see our message and they come to our next meeting, and perhaps they don't volunteer or actually take one of the roles we're talking about, but they maybe have ideas on how we could restructure some of our other events so that more availability within our current committee could be freed up. As with anything in cycling, it's all volunteer based. No one's doing this for money, it's for love of the sport. So the key message is that at this moment we wouldn't be putting a shout out for more help if it wasn't absolutely needed. We just need anyone that has any semblance of interest in cross country or gravel racing to come forward to our next meeting. And if someone's out there and they're hearing this and they think, I want to be the person to lead this going forward, fantastic, they should reach out to us straight away.
For anyone who is interested in coming along to that meeting, when and where is it taking place? And also for those, particularly those who have not attended something like this before but might be able to help out, what could they expect from that meeting?
So the meeting is on the 18th of February at 6:30 in the sea terminal. So just outside Costa in the sea terminal there. It's a fairly laid back thing, really. So it's not like expect to be grilled on what you've done in the past. It's just more of an open forum really for people to chip in and maybe offer to help where they can, or ideas or whatever. Yeah, I don't expect like a full-on inquisition into how help could be offered. And if someone turns up we're not expecting, they shouldn't feel obliged that they need to offer help.
And that just about rounds out Saturday Sport Classified on Manx Radio AM 1368 this evening. Thank you for joining us. Thanks to our team of correspondents as always, Tony Mepham, Dave Christian and Ben Cunningham. Just before we go, just a quick reminder tonight, if you're out and about this evening and early tomorrow morning, of course, that yellow weather warning for snow and sleet coming into force across the island from 7 o'clock tonight and running until 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. So if you are out and about tonight or early tomorrow morning, please do take care. Well, all that remains for me to say is have yourself a wonderful rest of your Saturday evening and a wonderful rest of your weekend, whatever you're doing. We'll now be handing back over to Manx Radio Gold, but from us, until next time, it is bye for now.
Manx Radio Sports, brought to you by the Print Shed. Visit theprintshediom.com today to set up your personalised web shop for your sports club or business.